At the start of the story, we meet Katase Shiri, a Senpai company employee. She is a senior member of Team A in the product development division. She works with Takuma. Takuma is a simple young man in his 20s who works at the firm and is madly in love with her. She enchants him with her simplicity, as well as her short and adorable looks. On his way to work, Takuma sees Shiri calling a cat and making cat noises. He thinks of her as a tiny, lovely cat and is completely smitten with her. In the office, she impresses her manager, Akina Chihiro, by completing her work before the deadline. Takuma is also amazed by her discipline and ends up complimenting her. Takuma imagines himself rubbing Shiri's back while she complains about back pain. She calls out to him, interrupting his fantasy. Takuma then tells her that he was thinking about getting a massage for himself because he has a stiff shoulder. Shiri quickly takes him by surprise when she begins to massage him. Shiri then encourages Takuma at work when he is worried about a planned presentation and urges him not to worry. At this point, it's clear that she likes him back. Takuma then speaks with his colleague, Hayakawa Chinatsu. Shiri notes that he seems to be getting along well with her. When Shiri inquires about her, he replies they were childhood friends. She then admits that she's always wanted to be friends with Hayakawa and asks Takuma if he can introduce them, which he agrees. Shiri always acknowledges Takuma on his work performance. As a result, he is unsure whether she acts out of obligation to him or because she is in love with him. Takuma is overworked and does not leave the office in time to get home. Shiri appreciates his hard work and asks him to dinner. During dinner, they share tender moments. The next day, he sees Shiri calling out to the cat again. After that, he teases her and they have an adorable fight. Later, Akina, the manager, sees them together and is happy that they get along so well. After Shiri drops her pen, Akina encounters Takuma and Shiri in a problematic scenario. As a result, Akina feels compelled to act as matchmaker since he sees Takuma and Shiri being potential couples. He gives them a task to locate a new restaurant for some business meals. They both agree because they would not refuse a free meal. Akina follows them soon after work and meets Hayakawa, Takuma's childhood friend. He believes she is following Takuma because they were friends and she likes him, but Hayakawa strongly opposes this. After some time, the two start walking behind the couple. During a brief antics, Shiri leans against Takuma to obtain a better view, making him wobbly. When it becomes late, Takuma jokingly admits that he's disappointed because he had hoped to spend a bit more time with Shiri. Takuma gets confused as Shiri blushes deeply after hearing this. He then offers to drive her to the train station. The next day, Hayakawa sees Takuma and notes that he is carrying an umbrella. We learn that he packed the umbrella as he was told it was his lucky item. Shiri finds herself without an umbrella as it suddenly begins to rain. Takuma offers sharing the umbrella with her. He tries to talk to her on the way home because he finds silence uncomfortable. Shiri tells him not to force himself to speak because she finds silence calming. She abruptly informs him that she wants to stop at the bookshop on her way home so they can meet up later. He offers her the umbrella for the way home, but Shiri replies she already has one in her bag. As a result, Takuma feels very embarrassed. Shiri gets worried when Takuma calls in sick the next morning. She pays him a visit shortly after work and offers to cook him a meal. Takuma invites her into his home and serves her a food. Takuma consults Hayakawa on what gift to give Shiri in gratitude for her kindness while he was sick. Hayakawa suggests he bring her an apron, something cute she may wear to remind her of him. Despite his concerns about it being too intimate, he buys it. Shiri is pleased when he approaches her with the gift and asks if she can visit his home again. Akina, their manager, questions them about taking the day off to spend time together. They both jokingly scream at him to slow down after that. The next day at work, Akina attempts to play matchmaker once again. He can be seen talking to Takuma, telling him about his past and how Shiri was overjoyed to have him work for her. She overhears the conversation and becomes embarrassed and shy as a result. We then go back in time and see things through both of their perspectives. From Takuma's perspective, he thinks Shiri is staring at him to keep a close eye on his mistakes. From Shiri's viewpoint, she is incredibly excited to have someone work under her and she wants to be as helpful as possible. On their way back to the office, Shiri and Takuma come across a crane game with stuffed animals. The two kinds of teddies in the game remind them of each other. After seeing how excited she is about the teddies, he tries to win them for her. On his first two attempts, he fails to win the teddy, but on his third attempt, he wins two of each type. He then presents both teddies to Shiri, who is delighted. At work, their boss asks them to come up with ideas for a dating website. They have never been in a relationship before, so they have little to offer. At home, the two teddies remind Shiri of herself and Takuma. When the feminine teddy falls on the masculine-looking teddy, she imagines herself approaching Takuma. She quickly gathers herself and tries to stop herself from blushing. Hayakawa then sets out to go to the otaku event as it is taking place in the city after all. She becomes irritated by how far away the event is and complains to herself about the inconvenience. At that point, the manager approaches Hayakawa, who is surprised to see him because he clearly knows who she is. She clarifies that she is not who he believes she is because she is embarrassed. The situation is clearly absurd, and Akina ends up complimenting her on her interests. Later that evening, despite staying up late, she tries to write a manga manuscript but fails. Takuma notices Hayakawa looking tired the next day at work. A moment later, Akina unexpectedly invites her to dinner. During their conversation that night, he expresses his desire to accompany her to an otaku event. Hayakawa is shocked because she had anticipated him judging her. On the next day, Akina and Shiori bring up Takuma and Hayakawa's friendship. After that, the topic of different workplace relationships is raised. When Takuma and Hayakawa meet for a meal, the latter informs him that the manager has discovered that she is an otaku. She considers herself lucky that he is unaware of her obsession with the BL manga series. Akina and Shiori, who were sitting behind them at the table, had been listening and joins them. Takuma is shocked when Shiori approaches him dressed as a pumpkin for Halloween. Surprisingly, Akina, who is sitting at the desk wearing cat ears, appears to be in a celebratory mood as well. When Hayakawa goes to speak with him, he forces her to wear one as well. Despite her strong desire to remove them, she does not have the courage to confront the manager directly about it. Takuma and Shiori share some sweets later that day. Shiori opens her mouth and begs Takuma to feed her one. He is embarrassed and gradually gathers all of his courage and attempts to feed Shiori, but it is too late. Shiori eats some chocolate on herself. As soon as she walks into the room, she begins smothering Hayakawa and kisses, and Akina takes photo of them doing that. She is seemed out of control because she ate one of the alcoholic sweets. She leaves Hayakawa to speak with the manager. She then expresses her appreciation for her boss's hard work. Shiori eventually sets her eyes on Takuma. She recalls how he first arrived at the company and is pleased with his achievements. She gives him an emotional hug. Akina believes that this is an excellent opportunity to inquire about Takuma's personal opinion. Shiori, on the other hand, says she's not sure if she likes him yet. The next scene shows Shiori and Akina discussing how they plan to contribute to the office Christmas party. Takuma overhears the discussion and concludes that Shiori loves Christmas. He continues by telling himself that she will, at the very least, be present for Christmas. The scene then switches to Shiori and Takuma attending a client meeting. After the meeting, they come across a shop that sells loungewear. She imagines him looking cute in the bear-themed loungewear. Takuma, on the other hand, thinks she'd look adorable in bunny-themed outfit. They are walking when they come across two bloggers who think they are dating. When Shiori explains that they aren't, the female blogger begs her to pretend that they are for her video. Shiori agrees when the blogger says they barely get any views. After that, Shiori and Takuma playfully act like a couple, answering the blogger's questions. Later that day, the video goes viral and Shiori is embarrassed. On the next day, Shiori and Takuma's colleagues ask if they're dating. They clarify that they aren't while becoming extremely embarrassed. Christmas comes a few days later. Shiori, Takuma, Akina, and Hayakawa can be seen having fun at the office party. Takuma approaches Shiori as she walks alone to the station after the party and asks if he can accompany her, to which she excitedly agrees. They appear to enjoy walking together and have formed a strong bond. Shiori then asks Takuma about his Christmas plans. When he says no, she suggests they go somewhere else before going home, to which he agrees. After spending more time together, they exchange gifts. She presents him with the bear loungewear while he presents her with the bunny loungewear. Both appear joyful as a result of this. After that, Akina and Hayakawa arrive out of nowhere and begin to tease the two. They even push them to exchange their contact information, which leads to Shiori and Takuma exchanging phone numbers. Shiori and Takuma also encourage Akina and Hayakawa to do the same. As a result, they exchange phone numbers with each other as well. In Takuma's dream, he finds Shiori directing him to distribute gifts while dressed as Santa. He wakes up as things between them become slightly more intense. Akina texts him at the same time, telling him not to worry about his dream. The next day, Takuma and Shiori discover that Hayakawa needs help in finishing the manuscript she has been working on for some time. Surprisingly, Akina offers to help with the artistic aspect of the situation, and it appears that he is also skilled. Hayakawa and Akina work together to complete the manuscript on time and even try to sell it at an event where Hayakawa's friend thinks Akina is her partner. On the first day of the new year, Shiri gathers the courage to thank Takuma for everything he has accomplished. The two agree to continue working together in the upcoming year. Yutaka, on the other hand, has been paying close attention to her brother for some time, and has noticed significant changes in him. She thinks she must learn the truth as soon as possible. Akina unexpectedly tells Takuma to meet Shiori at the Hatsumoto Shrine. Takuma goes to the shrine the next day where he meets Shiori and his other colleagues. He had no idea his sister is following him up to this point. Takuma can't take his eyes away from Shiori because he is astonished to see her dressed in traditional outfits. Yutaka notices Shiori from a distance and immediately recognizes her as her brother's girlfriend. Rather than making small talk, she takes advantage of the opportunity to hug her from behind. Shiori is understandably shocked as Yutaka compliments her looks and refers to her as the cutest. The supervisor then informs her that the girl is Takuma's sister. Shiori feels happy to finally meet her. As Takuma becomes nervous and tries to calm his sister, she continues to praise his senpai. Meanwhile, the manager interjects, saying that they are truly compatible. When he learns that Yutaka wants a younger sister, he suggests that Takuma simply marry Shiori so that Yutaka can have one. Takuma tries to explain the situation and convince Shiori that his sister can be exactly like him, but the pair is shocked when Akina and Yutaka ask about their preferred wedding speaker. Takuma and Shiori then meet at the shrine and quickly leave to explore the gathering. Then they gather together to ensure that the girl in need of help feels safe. Yutaka and Aiken talk their love while visualizing themselves as future parents to a child. Shiori and Takuma get back to work soon after the break. Shiori thinks she towers over her new friend at their first meeting, but it turns out that she is only wearing a pair of boots. Afterwards, Ishiyama from PR approaches Takuma with requests for work that go beyond what his senpai has approved. Shiori arrives just in time to defend her kohai, derailing his attempts at persuasion. That evening, however, Ishiyama repeats the same trick on Hayakawa, causing her to put in unpaid extra hours. Since Aiken is the manager, he obviously inquires about her late hours at work. He advises her to stop doing favors for other people and says he'll have a talk with Ishiyama regarding this. Later, during dinner, Aiken and Hayakawa catch up on each other's romantic lives. Interestingly enough, that's where they meet Yutaka, and then they all have a fantastic time together. On a Sunday morning, Takuma realizes that he feels unusually heavy, and he wonders if he is experiencing sleep paralysis. Yutaka, who desperately needs to get more pictures of Shiori, is in fact seated on top of him in order to wake him up. Takuma's sister has proven to have an obsession with his senpai from the moment she met her and hopes he will eventually date her. However, Takuma is less forthright about his emotions and has not yet taken any action in response to her advances. Strangely, he doesn't even have any Shiori pictures on his cell phone. Takuma remembers the time he spoke with Shiori and thinks it would be great to have pictures of the two of them together, but he wonders if he should even be asking for it. Yutaka grabs Takuma's cell phone while he's distracted and texts Shiori about how much he is missing her and the fact that he wishes he had a picture of her on his phone. Takuma grows frantic when she reveals that she has already messaged his senpai without his knowledge. Shiori, meanwhile, has a hard time accepting that Takuma would send her such a text. She heads to the shower to get cleaned up before she sends him a picture. When she eventually does come back, however, Takuma has already apologized to her and explained that his sister was the one who sent the text. Since Takuma is constantly too quiet and reserved to make requests for pictures, the above scenario makes much more logical sense to Shiori. What's interesting is the fact that Shiori responds by asking if he's sure he doesn't want a picture of her. When it comes to making a move, Takuma simply freezes under the pressure. He tells his sister she needs to say she's sorry. Yutaka listens to her brother and then sends multiple pictures of her sibling to Shiori. Takuma worries about what his senpai will think of him the next day when he returns to the workplace. When he runs into her on the street, he is taken aback by how normal she appears to be. To avoid asking for separate photos, Shiori suggests they pose for a shot together instead. The manager sneaks up on them from behind some bushes and seizes the opportunity to snap a photo of them together. Next day at work, we see Hayakawa revealing her wish to travel to someplace with hot springs following the holiday. She clearly wants to have fun because she was unable to do so throughout the break. She persuades Shiori that traveling together would turn out to be an excellent plan, and both of them decide to take advantage of the paid time off as a way to go on vacation. Unexpectedly, Aiken and Takuma decide to travel with them as well. The four of them show up at a lodging with hot springs towards the end of the month. They are all quite enthusiastic about their stay. Shiori hesitates before finally jumping into the water and admits that she suffered an accident as a child that still terrifies her. Although he tries to teach her the fundamentals of swimming, Takuma ends up coming dangerously close to drowning when his calf cramps. Shiori displays incredible bravery in trying to save him, but during the struggle, Takuma manages to pull her bra off. The two are unable to face one another until much later during the evening as a consequence of the unpleasant predicament that ensues. Shiori decided to regain her honor in the presence of her kohai after taking a steaming hot spring shower. She is fairly committed to achieving this goal, but it ultimately ends up being a fruitless effort given that she gets extremely drunk during dinner time. Following that, Shiori is hardly in her right mind. Despite the fact that Hayakawa and Aiken sit nearby, she pays them little attention. She attempts to get incredibly close to her kohai and flirts with him as well. Both the superior and her friend are embarrassed by Shiori's antics. The pair excuses themselves during their meal by saying they need to go take another shower, and then they both get up to leave. Takuma is aware that they are purposefully leaving him and Shiori alone in the interim. He makes some attempts to gain control, but they are hardly successful. Shiori then forces him to sit on her lap while she flosses his teeth. Takuma is relieved that nobody can see what is going on, despite his embarrassment. Once it is finally time for bed, both of them share a bed. Shiori is obviously not in the mood to allow him to have even a few minutes alone. She continues to pursue him and eventually presses him to the ground. Takuma understands that Aiken or Hayakawa will certainly make embarrassing conclusions regarding him if they enter the room and see them sitting in that awkward sitting position. As a result, he sits inside the closet with Shiori. It's interesting to see that he correctly predicts events since Aiken and Hayakawa enter the room shortly after. Hayakawa realizes that she needs a particular item from her baggage. Takuma is making an effort to be silent, but Shiori is still making fun of him in her intoxicated state. This soon causes their companions to turn their focus towards the closet. Fortunately, neither Aiken nor Hayakawa peek into the wardrobe and quickly leave. By a sort of miracle, Takuma is able to save Shiori from the consequences. He turns to speak to her but sees that she is sleeping on the floor. She ends up embracing him and tugging him towards her when he tries to take her to the bed. Aiken, Hayakawa, and the owner of the hotel enter the room when Takuma appears on top of Shiori, having noticed that the closet seems off. When they notice their coworkers in an awkward situation, they begin making fun of Takuma. Shiori and Takuma are trapped in a compromising situation in which they are stuck on seeing two employees make love while trapped in the basement. We are taken back in time to discover how they got into that situation. Shiori and Takuma are summoned by Akina to retrieve some old Miyotaro supplies from the basement. When Shiori and Takuma go looking for products in the basement's back corner, two coworkers arrive and begin making out. Shiori and Takuma do not inform them of their presence in order to avoid embarrassment. Soon after, Shiori and Takuma get incredibly close as they are crowded into a tiny space in an effort to make the two coworkers stop. They quickly message a coworker for help, and the two coworkers are summoned to the office. Shiori and Takuma begin their search for the merchandise after they leave. They leave the basement and return to work after finding it. Shiori and Takuma are unable to sleep later that night because of what happened earlier that day. Furthermore, the next day, they are both extremely humiliated to communicate with each other. Shiori acts normally the next day. Takuma, on the other hand, is still embarrassed. Takuma then tells Shiori that he wishes to speak to her privately after work. Shiori, taken off guard, agrees to meet him. Shiori is seated with Hayakawa and another coworker later that day who tell her the ways people change when they start dating. They give her instances of people being overly lovey-dovey or overly tough in front of others while dating. Shiori panics when she imagines herself in that situation with Takuma. When Shiori and Takuma meet up after work, Shiori tells him that she doesn't want anything to change between them. She hints that if their relationship develops, she does not want them to become too casual or overly serious in front of others. Takuma agrees and the two establish that they are on the same page. Next we see a game featuring Takuma, Shiori, Akina, and Hayakawa. Following this, the scene shifts, revealing that a competition is about to begin in honor of the company's 40th anniversary. We see that the new hires have the chance to win an Okinawa getaway for their entire department. Being a new hire, Takuma has Shiori and the rest of the team rooting for him. Following this, Takuma is more motivated than ever to win the competition so that he and Shiori can take another vacation together. However, it becomes apparent very quickly that he has an obstacle. Takuma finds out that the leader of Dev Group 1 is just as committed to helping her kohei succeed. Takuma finds out that, just in case he doesn't win, the chief has already made plans to transfer Akina to another group. Takuma's drive to succeed in the competition has increased as a consequence. Shiori, Takuma, and the rest of the group visit a group of children the following day. They have been tasked with observing children's reactions to various toys. Soon after, Shiori and Takuma find themselves in the middle of a passive-aggressive quarrel between two small kids. Takuma knows that the boy's behavior is a consequence of his feelings for the girl. Following this, Takuma brings the two children together. He then tells the boy that if he likes the girl, he must treat her with kindness. As she travels back, Shiri mulls about Takuma's words of wisdom for the little lad. After giving it some thought, she concludes that Takuma, who has always been extremely kind to her, must also have feelings for her. We see Shiri singing a cat-centered song. Takuma walks in on her while she's singing. In order to ensure she doesn't feel awkward, he then joins her. The segment then picks up where we left off in the previous episode. Takuma appears anxious over the prospect of losing the most valuable new hire award, because the team's manager, Akina, is at stake if they don't win. His anxiety levels are through the roof. Shiri immediately notices that something is off about Takuma's appearance. She remarks instantly that he must be nervous about the competition. Following this, she gives him a boost of confidence. A little later that day, Takuma encounters a distraught Kurusu. Following this, Takuma requests that Shiri encourage Kurusu as well, reasoning that she too is probably anxious about the upcoming competition. When Shiri approaches Kurusu, she initially attempts to push her away. Mutaro toys, however, provide a common ground for the duo. Kurusu then admits to Shiri that she isn't a gifted artist, but she doesn't want to let down her manager. Shiri then gives her the courage to tell the truth. The crowd cheers for Team 2 after witnessing their presentation during the competition. Takuma is presumed to be inside the Mutaro costume. Plenty of women ask to hug him once the presentation is over. In light of this, Shiri gets jealous. Soon later, Shiri presumes the person in the costume to be Takuma and requests to hug him, though it turns out that Akina is actually wearing the costume. In light of this, Shiri feels embarrassed. The competition's winner is revealed in the show's closing minutes. Yamagishi's public relations team's least enthusiastic new hire is the lucky recipient. Both Takuma and Kurusu are thrown off by this. After the competition is concluded, Shiri tells Takuma that he did a terrific job no matter who won. The contest ends, and Shiri takes Takuma out for a ramen treat that night to reward him for all of his hard work in the competition. While walking home, a woman mentions that people with high libido crave ramen. Shiri feels embarrassed by this. Soon after, Takuma begins to worry if his connection with Shiri will remain strictly professional or if it will blossom into something more romantic. The following day, Akina asks Hayakawa out. Akina agrees that it is a date when Shiri jokes about it. Hayakawa feels embarrassed and appears to be blushing as a consequence of this. The Miyotaro game that Yamagishi was developing is now complete. Following that, she has Takuma try it out by playing. When Takuma is playing the game, some of the dialogue in it reminds him and Shiri of a past event, hinting that Shiri colleagues own Takuma. Following this, they're both anxious as they clearly want more. Takuma eventually asks Shiri to be his friend later that day. Shiri simplifies the situation for him and she gives in without much resistance. Following this, given that they've both never been friends with someone of the opposite sex, they're both confused about how to proceed. Later that day, the group decides to go to an amusement park for Golden Week. Shiri and Takuma agree to travel along since they are excited to spend time with each other. However, in the end, the plan is dropped, frustrating Takuma and Shiri. Following that, Takuma asks Shiri if she wants to go to the amusement park with him. Shiri is ecstatic and agrees. At the amusement park, Shiri and Takuma have a blast together. During this time, they appear to have grown closer to one another. Shiri proposes they snap a picture to commemorate the day, and shortly thereafter, Takuma's sister, Hayakawa, and Akina appear. During the final moments, Takuma narrates that the day got busier, and with that, the season is over and he shows a picture of him and Shiri that they had previously gotten around to taking. And that's how the season 1 comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think about this anime in the comments, and as always leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.